Hi, Barry. I'm just doing work until it starts. Can you hear me?
You muted, dear. Yep.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah, that's a little better.
I'm just doing work until it starts.
You need to pump up your microphone volume just a bit. Or hang on. It might be me. Hold on. There we go. Try again, please.
I'm just trying to do a little work before we start.
Oh, go right ahead.
Okay.
Hi, Melissa, it's Barry. Did you have a fun trip, Melissa? You're muted, dear.
Hi, sorry. We had a great time. We went up to uh, Bay St. Paul in Quebec and went skiing at Les Massifs. And it was really, really fun. Lots of
Very,
snow.
very nice. I'm not stalking you. I just caught you. I
Oh,
caught
yeah.
your yeah, I know. I
That's
caught your exploits on Facebook, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
look
yeah.
like you're having a blast.
That's what we do, right? When we share our lives on social media.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear you. Well, hopefully a few more people will show up. Meredith's in the background doing some work at the moment. I got my fingers
Great,
crossed, so
great.
we'll see. Thanks for being
All
here.
right. Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed This Week in Weed.
What
It's
what
a
part what part of it caught your
well,
attention?
just just one, getting the weekly newsletters. I think I've only received two since I signed up. I think there was a little bit of a pause over the holidays,
Oh,
maybe.
yeah. There, I think there was, as a matter of fact, but they're usually pretty good. Usually by a Friday or a Saturday, that'll be
Mm-hmm.
on my inbox.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's always it's just kind of fun to see what's going on
Yeah.
across the state. But as far as I'm concerned, it's probably even a little more timely than like stuff from the Cannabis Commission.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, they've been posting for God almost about maybe 2, 3 years.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's a source reporter from the Boston Globe who does it. So
Nice.
yeah, there's Mr. Sullivan.
There we go.
Mike, how are you?
Good. I did not have access with this email address, so it took me a minute to get in here.
Oh, did it?
Sorry about that.
Oh no, don't worry about it. Do I have your right email address?
Yeah, I just have another one. This one works. I just haven't used it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I just
I don't
want to
use
make
it
sure
too often.
just want to make sure I'm being timely with you. I'm hoping a few more people will get their rear end gear here.
Understandable.
I'm still waiting just maybe for one more commissioner on the board, and that would at least give us a quorum ability to deal with some things. Melissa, what do you think? Quarter past? And see where we're at. I hate to keep you guys waiting. I always
I
feel
know.
bad about this.
Do we have any way to communicate with, how many people are on our committee? So just
We've-
5 of us?
We actually have 7 total now.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, oh my God. So, because there was a new person who came on board, from the, not
Oh,
this
right.
current, yeah, Joe Plandowski.
Joe Plandowski. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to meeting him. So there's Dorothy Hertz as well, Dave Iverson, and Jacques Zemecki.
Okay.
All right, let me. see
I
if
don't
can-
know any of those people personally, so I can't help
Yeah,
text anybody to see if
yeah, I'm
they're
gonna.
planning to join.
Yeah, let me take a minute and see if I got some
Okay.
people in here.
Barry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Dorothy. Just,
Okay, I can't hear anybody else. Have we
no
started any
one's
discussion?
saying anything yet. I'm trying to gather up people at the moment by way of phone. So I'm going to be in and out.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Joe. It's Barry.
Hi. Hi, Barry.
Hi.
Thanks
Yeah,
for
I'm
your help.
just trying to, yeah, no problem. Just trying to gather up people here at the moment. So I'm going to kind of be in and out. It may take me a minute to respond back to you at times.
That's fine.
Yeah. Um, contact. All right. That's not doing me any good. 3, 4, 5. Video.
Barry, with everyone who's on, do we have a quorum?
We
to start
do.
now?
I was just trying my last phone call, and unfortunately, the number I have is not working. But yeah, we do
Okay.
have enough for a quorum, and I'm going to get started.
Sweet.
So thanks for your patience, everyone. I appreciate it. All right. So as a preliminary matter, this is Barry Rector, the chair. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Dorothy Hertz. I'll take that as a yes.
Yep.
There we go. David Iverson is absent. Meredith Lepre.
Here.
Thank you, Meredith. Melissa Murphy.
Present.
Jacques Samicki is absent. And for our newest member, let me introduce Joe Plandowski. He just
Here.
came on board. Yep, great, thank you. And Chair Barry Rector is here as well. And then we also have as a guest at this point, Mike Sullivan, who you all know. And thank you, Mike, for being on the phone call. So good afternoon. This open meeting of the Cannabis Advisory Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Cannabis Advisory Committee is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I, as the chair, note otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. As the chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After each one concludes their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any responses, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Members of the public wishing to participate in the meeting must use their full name for Zoom access. If full names are not used, people will not be allowed to participate in discussion. The town reserved the right to remove any member of the public from the meeting who does not use a full name or accent appropriately. All right, thank you, everyone. Beep. There we go. So you do have an agenda before you at this point for the meeting, and I would take a motion to approve said agenda, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Melissa. And do I have a second for that? Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Dorothy. I appreciate it. I'm just going to go down the list for the approval at this point. Melissa,
Aye.
Meredith,
Aye.
Dorothy,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
and the chair votes in the affirmative as well. Thank you, everyone. Let's see here. We don't really have any draft minutes at the moment. Public comment. I think we'll get to Mike in a minute because I want to get a little bit of an update on thing. The election of officers, I'd like to be able to still table that at this point until we have a full group before us at this point. If you're all good with that, not hearing anyone saying no, I'm just going to table that till our next meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay, so that brings us to Act Natural, and this is a placeholder that's been on here just to find out what the status is on things at the moment. Mike Sullivan's been kind enough to join us at this point, so Mike, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have anything that you'd like to share with us at this point? And it's up to you in terms of anything.
I don't really have a whole ton to share. I first and foremost would like to welcome any of you guys to come take a tour at any time. I know we've offered that extensively to members of the community in the past, to the select board, et cetera. So at any time, feel free to reach out to me via email and we can set something up. So keep that in mind. As far as an update's concerned, we've been working with the state to upgrade our lab testing policies and procedures. And we've been working with the CCC on that. And we do believe that they're working very hard and should have a response back to us very shortly. So we're eager to get back going, and that's it.
All right, great. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So I think you all heard, if you would like a tour, just give Mike an email at this point. We were trying to set something up, and I think with everything that was going on with you, we backed off a little bit because we probably figured you had your hands pretty darn full. But that's great.
Yeah,
Barry,
Sorry.
can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Joe, please.
Which laboratory is doing the testing for Act Natural? Is it MCR or CDX?
Neither.
Good.
We have to do all our own testing on island. We're not allowed, unfortunately, to send samples over the federal waters.
Yes, got it.
All testing has to be done on island.
Okay.
Yeah, and Joe, that's true for the Green Lady as well too. They do their own
Yes.
independent testing there. Yeah. Okay.
Got it.
Beautiful. All set? All right, Mike, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And hopefully the members will be giving you a little thing there to try to set something up with you. So that would be awesome. So the next thing on our agenda is, unless there's anything else for Mike, I'm so sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
Thanks so much. Hi, Mike. I guess through Barry, I'm just curious if you have, I know you're working on the testing, but do you have any update on a timeline? And is Act Natural currently closed until you get that worked out? I just wasn't clear on that detail.
The timeline's up to the state. They're working on it right now and should be back to us very shortly. We are open for production and cultivation. We're just waiting for final approval for them to open the doors again.
Perfect. Okay, so you're sort of at their whim. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have anything? All right, not hearing anything else. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. All right, so next thing on our agenda is we were looking at, from our last meeting, about marijuana establishments, and we're trying to get a placeholder article for town meeting. And at this point, I've already talked to Leslie Woodson Snell at the planning department, and I'm still continuing to work with her on that. So I'll be seeing her in the next 24 hours, and we'll see where things are at with that with her. But she has assured me that she is going to help us work on that process. There was some discussion that was taking place from our last meeting. I'm just kind of going back through the minutes here just to kind of figure out where we were at. The real topic for the discussion was centering on right now all about licensure. And that licensure is essentially tagged to how many what is it? Retail alcohol establishments were in place, which was a grand total of 9 of them for alcohol sales. And according to the bylaw, we could do 20% of that. So, and it's always rounded up to the nearest number. So that really allowed 2 different facilities to take place, which is Green Lady at this point, and Act Natural. But to do anything else, it was a question of if you want to do a delivery service, if you want to do a social consumption environment. It's again going to be a separate license, and all of a sudden, because we've used the 2 licenses that the town has decided on, I don't think we can go any further. So the question becomes: would we be interested in still approaching town meeting to increase that number of licenses? Because what we'll have to do is change the bylaw that establishes that to change the percentage on it. So that's where we're at. There was some fairly good discussion at our last meeting, but I got the sense there was still a little more hanging out there. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed on it at this point, and just see if there was anything additional, or do we just want to keep moving ahead with this? So Melissa, let me start with you if you don't mind. You just happen to be right at the top of my screen into the left.
Because I'm the only one with my camera on.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
actually, I'd actually like to hear from some other members and their opinion first.
That's
I have some mixed feelings about it, so I'd like to see where everyone else is landing.
yeah, no problem. I'm not surprised to hear that. Well, Meredith, you turned your camera on, so I'm going to go right to you at this point here.
Can you just repeat what you were asking? I had to just go help a kid. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. So anyways, we were going back to, I'm working with the planning department at this point to get that placeholder article squared away. But it's really up to this committee to determine if they really do want to increase the number of licenses that are available out there. And again, like I said, those licenses, as far as I know, would be used not necessarily to establish a 3rd retail facility, but could be used for other things like delivery service or social consumption. I'm just picking things off the top of my head for social consumption. Craft cooperative is another one that comes to mind.
Oh.
And at our last meeting, there was a fair amount of discussion behind this. And so I figured it was good to circle back in now that you've had a little bit of a month to think about it a little further and just get some additional information to see whether we do want to move ahead. That's probably the first question at this point. And the second thing is to see what we would want to do with by how much more. One facility, two, whatever the case may be. But it all involves going back to that bylaw and having to change the percentage figure to make that happen. So anyways, that's kind of where we're at. And the reason why I'm pursuing the placeholder is because we're getting closer and closer to town meeting all the time.
I am not for delivery service because I think there is too much of a risk of of kids getting their hands on it. So I'm not for the delivery service. I do think it would be interesting to see if there's a market for a 3rd one, because I don't think that we've had both open for a full year. That to know, like, what it is there really a market for? You don't want to say like, oh yeah, let's have another license, and then one of them, they're not making enough money to stay open. So I would wonder what it would be like, because Jock, I feel like, made a comment last time that a lot of year-rounders are growing their own. So I guess I would really be more interested in seeing what the numbers are like with if there's enough interest for there to be a 3rd place open, or a 3rd license after both companies have been open for a year. But I'm really not for a delivery because I just think that puts too much of a risk of it going into the wrong hands. I mean, I don't think that the people that are delivering necessarily are always going to be checking IDs or be as interested in checking IDs, or, you know, I think that would be something that would be really difficult to monitor.
Yeah, I hear you, but did you look in the cannabis control site to see exactly what's involved in that process to become a delivery operator and what the
No.
requirements are?
I can, but no.
I'd probably advise you to do that. You know, what you're saying isn't falling on deaf ears, but they seem to have some pretty stringent requirements about just handing it off, because of the nature of the substance that's before you at this point.
Right.
So it may be worth a look to see if that maybe helps alleviate some of the concerns that you're having with that. And
I'm
you know,
still not
see,
for a delivery service.
yeah,
That also means
yeah.
more people driving around, more traffic.
What's that?
More people driving around and more traffic. But I will look at what the requirements are for a driver, but I just don't think that that's necessary maybe on a teeny little island 30 miles out to sea when
Yeah, and
so that's just
I would,
that's just my feeling.
yeah, I would. I've got my own opinions on that as well too. Let me go to Dorothy, who's had her hand raised for a few minutes, and I want to go to her anyways. Then I'm going to come back to you, Melissa. Okay. Beautiful. So Dorothy, go ahead.
Hey, Meredith. I just want to give Meredith a little information on that. As the cannabis laws about delivery are in place right now, there's a lot of criteria. First of all, they're giving the licenses first to low income or racially discrimination under racial, like if you have any racial, how can I say this properly? Well, it's being offered to people of racial, you know, that it's impacted. So the Black and Spanish communities would be more susceptible to be the first license holders, or people that have had problems in the past, which is interesting. They've also, it's going to women first, these licenses, and they are, you have to have 2 drivers in the vehicle. They have to have camcorders on them, and the camcorders have to record the minute they stop at a location. They have to record and take a photo of the license that's provided to the delivery driver. It's in a locked container in the car. What's coming out from number one owners of distilleries is on the mainland, they can get it from warehouses. You know, these drivers can get it from warehouses, not necessarily from the dispensaries themselves. But a lot of the people in the dispensary industry are saying that the cost by the regulations right now are making it almost prohibitive to do it unless you're a big company. So I think that right now, just so you understood it a little bit, I mean, it's very rough.
Thank you.
But I think it would help you to understand it a little. I also, you know, and then, so I really believe almost on the same thing that right now, and what Meredith had touched upon, is not only are we looking at cannabis dispensaries here, that we only have one that really has a history. We don't have the history of Act Natural. And like any good business, it takes 3 years to know where we're going to stand and whether those, not even 1 year, but 3 years to understand where we would be with this. And since this law is in effect on the delivery drivers for the next couple of years, I think this delivery option should be tabled for a while to see how it actually pans out. And what also to get the feedback from the 2 facilities on the island as to the impact a private entity would have on it, because it can be held by a private licensing firm. So I think there's a lot of things out there that as we discuss things, we don't have enough information yet. We know that one distillery has worked. We don't know what the second one and the impact the second one will have in the community in a broader spectrum. And before we're looking at changing the laws or changing our bylaws, I think we have to just wait and see. I think it's too early to start deciding what we want to see down the road when we don't know what the road is yet. That's my opinion. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Dorothy. Melissa, let me circle back to you for a second.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you, Dorothy. That was really, really helpful. I think for some of us who are newer, it's really helpful to have that context. And I was going to ask, I think the most compelling request for delivery from my perspective is for medical marijuana patients, but I'm not sure you can authorize delivery just for medical, not for recreational, or can we? So I guess that would be a question.
Melissa, I'd probably say that'd be a question for town council, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not
Okay.
sure. It seems like it might be a little restrictive in nature to wind up doing that. Yeah, I mean, I'll just for the fun of it, I'll make a note and try to check in with town council about it because I am curious.
Okay. So I guess, yeah. And so I very much thank Dorothy for her comments. It's helped me contextualize both delivery and a third license. And from my perspective, I'm not in support right now of adding any additional licenses again until we have some solid operating experience. But I would continue to consider delivery if there could be some parameters around medical patient only.
Okay. Joe, I know you're the new person on the block. Welcome, and welcome to just being thrown right into things. So I don't know if you have any comments or questions.
I do.
Yeah,
I
please.
do have some comments. Let me respond to that issue of the marijuana courier. It turns out the way the regulation is written, that the products can be directly sent to consumers or to patients or caregivers, is what it says in the regulations. So that would say that marijuana could be distributed to anybody that orders it, consumers, patients, caregivers, whatever. But I was going to comment on delivery. I sat through last month's meeting.
Good.
And the issue of delivery took quite a bit of time in that meeting. And I thought about it. And initially I said, no delivery. And then after a day or so, I thought about it and said, now, wait a minute. I can get opioids delivered by FedEx or any other service without a problem at all. If I have a prescription for it, I can get that. So that's delivery. Initially, I thought, well, you can't get delivery, but you can get delivery. It's happening every day here. However, one of the things that I would think about is, can it be limited to the 2 locations that currently exist? In other words, they are the ones who deliver the marijuana to whomever orders it. And what it does is it drops out the middleman, somebody who's going to pick it up at one of these locations and deliver it to someone's home. It keeps it all locked in with the 2 existing organizations that are on the island today. Those are my comments on it.
All right, great, thank you. All right, so let me take a stab at this for a moment. Just a few things.
Come
Joe,
on,
that's
Dorothy.
it. Pardon? Dorothy? Okay. anyways, just a few observations. Joe, I'm glad you mentioned about opioid deliveries by mail. Having worked as a pharmacist, what's even more fascinating is that we're restricted to only being able to dispense a 30-day supply, usually in this state.
Yes.
If you were to mail order it, you can do up to you'll get 90 days worth. So, which I've always found kind of like, what, I have no idea how they skirted the law on that, but they did. So I think that's just kind of an interesting observation from my end, and I appreciate you sharing that. So just a few things I'd like to bring to the table here at this point.
You didn't let me comment.
I'm sorry, Dorothy? She might be having a sidebar conversation. I can't tell. Anyways, the idea is, yes, it would have to be limited to 2 locations at the moment because they're the only producers that are out there. And from what I'm gathering from that bylaw, and again, this is something I just got to check in with town council. From what I'm gathering from it, the delivery service needs to be an independent, functioning organization under which to do it. At last month's meeting, there was some good spirited discussion about it. You know, one thing that Jacques had brought up, which I have to agree with him on, is that if you were to just keep it open-ended, I think there's a fair amount out there that you gather from that. People can do that in the privacy of their house, without too much kerfluffle. Right now, it's very open-ended when you go to either of these 2 facilities. If you're hanging around, because it's definitely, you're right in the public eye. I think there's a fair amount of people on here between medical and elderly people who are out there as well too. That would be, they'd be perfect patients for this kind of thing. Just because they have a medical card, not everyone who wants to purchase marijuana for medical reasons wants to get a medical card. Some prefer to still use the retail establishment method because the way the data is collected and obtained and held on to is very different between the 2. Medical, there's a complete file on you. In retail, after 30 days, I think it's after 30 days, they're required to have to purge the database of you being there. And some people are very comfortable with that thought. They don't want to be on record permanently in some type of state database for that. So again, you know, this is all about freedom of access when it boils right down to it. So I do see that for delivery systems, that I do think that there are some good valid reasons. You're also, I mean, one of the big things that everyone complains about out here is traffic as well too. You're decreasing traffic by having a unified delivery service to try to stem that off. To me, that's another positive aspect of doing it. And mind you, that license, 2 things about it is that, one, it doesn't have to be tied just to a delivery service. It could be used for something different. I sincerely doubt in our conversations you would find a 3rd retail establishment wanting to come out here. God only knows if someone wanted to do it, but I don't see that. That seems to me like on a very low-ended probability that someone would apply for that license or try to do it, or realize that all these licenses have to be granted by the Board of Selectmen as the authorizing authority. So you've also got to look at that as, do you think the Board of Selectmen would really allow a 3rd retail establishment happening? I see that if someone else approached them on a different level and started talking about something like either a delivery service, social consumption, craft cooperative, they may be more willing to accept one of those for that 3rd license. But that final authority would rest with the Board of Selectmen, because they're the granting authority for how that license gets utilized. And to me, that's, that's not a gentle process. There's plenty of time for public input and comment on that. And certainly, we as a board too could comment on it. I'd probably be one of the first people to get up and say, third retail facility, no, let's have some time. Delivery service, yeah, that to me might be a little bit more appealing just for the reasons I've specified. But it's all about how that license would finally be distributed and who has the authority to distribute that license as well too. So I'm one of the ones not willing to let this off the plate, because, as I said too, there's another acting authority in the process to finally grant the license. All right.
Well, Barry, what the regulation says, I found it. It says a marijuana courier may be an owner of or have controlling interest in cultivation, product manufacturing, social consumption establishment, research, retail, or transportation license. So the two that already exist, they would fall under the regulations that they could deliver. And
Yeah.
when I was talking about delivery, I was thinking, well, somebody who runs the cab service here on the island might say, I want to set up the delivery service. Why shouldn't I? I'm running around picking people up. Why can't I deliver from the retail establishment to someone's house? But
Yeah,
and when I thought about that, I said, let's forget all these cab companies that are running around here. Why don't we just say, look, it's limited to the two facilities that are approved, and they have to provide delivery, or there is no delivery.
Okay. Thank you. Dorothy, you've had your hand raised.
Hi, Barry. Hi, Barry. Thank you. As far as I don't think a taxi cab driver, you have to go by all the protocol, which is two people in the car at all times, the cameras, so forth and so on. The problem that some of these organizations are running into is, if I was on with Meredith to deliver and Meredith had to stay home to take care of a baby, that delivery can't happen.
Right.
There has to be two licenses. So the cost of it for the facilities right now can be extremely high with all the protocol that's in place and the additional cost to it. There also, there are bylaws where the town can decide, the town can make a decision based on what kind of delivery they want in the town, whether they decide that it will be medical or it'll be recreational. And then that goes to the commission, who then will decide who gets the licenses. But the licenses right now are being limited at this point in time. And I think that's something important. As much as our conversation is out there, I think it's great to have a conversation and have a plan in place. We have to remember that they are limiting the amount and who they are giving the licenses to at the moment. Okay. And Barry, I'm sorry, but I have to chime out because I was getting a call before about a pipe at work that they're having that has leaked. So I have to actually bow out.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hey,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for participating. I appreciate it, Dorothy.
Yep. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks for your comments.
Bye,
too.
everybody.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, I guess the question out there at this point is, do we want to proceed ahead with this a bit further? Or are you, I'm kind of getting the sense there's really not an interest in doing this at this point. And if you so want, we can kill things right here. Or
Barry, is a license required for an existing facility to deliver?
That was my impression reading through the way it was structured under the Cannabis Control Commission.
And I would say we should get another license, but limit that license to the existing two outlets.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we could do that again. That's something I'd want to check with town council about and see what's involved in that process. About doing that as opposed to leaving it a little more open-ended for an independent party to do it. But let me find out. Melissa?
Thanks, Barry. So just to be clear, we're an advisory commission, so we're making recommendations to who? This would be to the planning office or planning board to write a warrant article. Who would be sponsoring this warrant article if we were to
It
go
would-
forward?
Right, I have to check with Leslie with that, but as far as I know, would be through the planning board at this point.
Okay.
But
'Cause
I'm still waiting to
I-
hear back from her.
Okay. And even if they were to draft something, let's say draft something for town meeting and it was debated and say approved, then the select board would still be the agents that would authorize any action on the bylaw, any approval on that. So approval of a delivery vendor or approval of a third operator. Is that correct?
That's correct. So again, let me just throw social consumption out there at the moment, because that just is hanging in the back of my head. You, just by virtue of having the license available, it could be granted, unless you put restrictions on it, it could be granted to be, by the Board of Selectmen to use for whatever purpose comes up. Now, it's going to be up to you guys. I mean, certainly we'd advise, but the ultimate authority lays back to the Board of Selectmen to say, okay, we'd like to use that license for, first point. And then the second point is, these are what we're seeing that should happen with how that particular license is being utilized.
So thank you. So my suggestion would be that we're really having sort of a philosophical debate as an advisory commission right now, not really grounded in any language that's proposed or any sort of, firm ideas. So maybe if we could actually see a draft of what this proposed bylaw would look like, I think we could have a bit more of a solid debate. And maybe at our next meeting, we could even have, see if council could come to answer some of these questions for us so that we're not in the dark. I'm feeling like because this commission has had such a long hiatus of not meeting, and I'm not feeling a particular sense of urgency in moving any of this forward. I'm not sure that there's any particular driver to make this happen for town meeting in 2022. And I could be totally wrong, but for me to feel comfortable with moving anything forward, I'd like to see the sort of nuts and bolts of what we're actually suggesting that we're going to recommend to either the planning board or the select board for debate.
Okay, so if you do look at the agenda that's there before you on page 2 at the very bottom where there are 2 asterisks.
To be honest, I don't know where the agenda is. Was that in an email that you sent to me?
Yeah, did you not get it?
Okay. I have the
feel
link
bad.
to the meeting, but I
All right,
okay, here it is. I got it. So page 2.
page 2, down at the bottom where there are 2 asterisks. Okay, that's the current bylaw on the books in place. Okay, it starts with the number of adult use marijuana retailers. Okay, so basically the change is really the percentage would need to change. I don't think it's going to be anything more than that. Of course, if we're trying to restrict it up front, as opposed to letting the Board of Selectmen deal with it as an after fact with this, there may need to be additional language in there.
Okay, so when you're talking about changing the percentage, just to make sure I'm understanding this clearly, the percentage change would affect the ability to have delivery or a third retailer.
Correct,
Or-
because it's
Okay.
all about, it's all about the number of licenses you can grant. And right
So the
now,
third license could be licensed to deliver.
it could be, right, it could be open-ended to anything, or it could be restricted by virtue of changing the bylaw to something very, very, very narrow.
Yeah.
And
I guess I wasn't clear that a third license. So I was thinking of it as three different things. One, a third license for an operator to have a retail shop or a medical shop. There would be a license for delivery, and then social consumption would be something totally different. But no, the shift in the percentage would be to allow any of those three things to possibly happen.
Correct. And then knowing that that license is available, they still have to come before them. So that license is available.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about wanting to do a social consumption type thing. God bless me if I want to try it. I'd have to approach you as the Board of Selectmen, as the granting authority, to say, you have a license available. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've got one and one only. I want to
Mhm.
make an application to that license for the following use.
Mm.
And you can all decide whether that's even a valid reason to do it. That's why I
Mhm.
was saying, if I wanted to go running, if you open up a third license, I want to go running in saying, want to open up a third retail thing, you're probably all going to look at me like I've got three heads and I'm totally off the wall. And I agree with you all there, because we still would want some more time. And I don't think a third retail facility is going to make it here, realistically.
But just to be clear, the shift in the percentage that we would be talking about would include a license to deliver. So if we are interested in supporting delivery, we would be interested in supporting and changing this percentage. But
Right.
I guess the
Mary?
question then is, could we limit the change in percentage to only be applicable to one function, i.e. delivery?
And I think the answer is yes. And that can be
Mhm.
done at two different places. Okay.
Mhm.
It could be done directly in that bylaw that you're looking at.
Mhm.
Okay. Or you could leave it such that the bylaw is silent on it. It just increases the number of licenses. And then as the board, the select board, as the granting authority, can make that determination about how that third license is best utilized.
Barry,
So do you see how
can I-
there's, yeah, just give me one sec. I'll be right with you.
Yep.
So you can see there's two diversion pathways to get to the same place. Does that make sense to you?
No, but I'm interested in hearing what Joe says. Then we can.
All right,
I mean,
go ahead.
kind
Yeah,
of.
Joe, please.
But yeah.
But what strikes me here is, what if both of the current facilities wanted to offer delivery? Would we have to have that to go from 2 to 4 licenses? And if that's the case, I like the idea of adding 2 licenses limited to delivery, and do it once rather than have to come back a year later and get another one because the other facility decided they wanted to deliver.
Yeah, that's a point. I probably just want to offer my own 2 cents on that. I think you'd stand a better probability just by limiting it to 1 license and let people see how that works out, as opposed to having to keep trying to figure out, and having people hound you for that 4th license. And again, it would just be having to go back to town meeting and changing the percentage. But at least if you were going to do that then, and let's say change it from 30 to 40%, or some way to get that 4th license in place, you can at least come and say, all right, listen, we gave out the third license. It was meant for delivery service. We've got an update on it. It seems to be working well. Can we try to go for a fourth one? You know, it's going to be all about how the public perceives that as well too, and what they feel is appropriate as well, because they're the ones who are ultimately going to have to enact that bylaw to make it happen. Does that help a little bit? Maybe, I don't know. All right.
I think I think that what we should probably do is get some kind of either participation or written opinion from council for our next meeting about these three ideas and the licenses and what's possible and what the goal of our recommendation will be, how the language will be written. I think that would probably be the most helpful next step.
Yeah, I think that's probably I'd agree with you on that. I really do. There's a few questions that have come up, which I think are really good questions that I think we need to have answered. The only thing I'm concerned with, which I don't have in front of me, is when the drop dead date is for having these articles in place. Do you remember, Melissa?
Well, we're adopting the warrant next week.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling like we missed the boat, but this is only my second time as a select board member through this process. And I know there's a lot of different ins and outs. So I don't want to be the authority voice on
Okay.
that.
No,
But the select board is planning to adopt the warrant next week.
All right. Yeah, no, I'm not, I just wanted to ask. That's all. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I'm being honest with what I don't totally know.
No, that's perfectly fine, because you hear me saying the same thing. I'm not 100% sure. All right. Let me if you're all good with this, let me just keep it out there for now. Let me move ahead. Let me get Leslie pinned down, and get something a little bit more well-rounded from town council, to see what their thoughts are and what can and can't be done with that. I'll see if I can get it in writing from them, and then give that to you as soon as I get any information at this point. How does that sound?
That's fine.
Right,
Barry, can I ask this question?
Yes, please.
Would it be worthwhile to hear from the two authorized operators whether they even have an interest in delivery?
Yeah, we could throw that out there, but it doesn't, I've also heard too, there are individuals out there who would be willing to at least try to entertain the idea of doing it independent of those two facilities. So I mean, we can certainly ask, but I don't want to necessarily tie it to, well, gee, they're just not interested. Let's not do it at all. All right.
That's why when I first thought about it, I said, well, what would be the best way to get it done? The best way to get it done, forgetting all the rules and regulations, is you've got couriers out there known as taxi cabs. The biggest investment they have is the vehicle.
But
they have all those. Let me tell you, the regulations are unbelievable. I mean, they're very, very difficult. Somebody would have to spend a lot of time to get this done properly. But when you think about it in terms of a cost of doing it, you sort of wind up looking at somebody who's got a vehicle already, because that's the major cost.
but Dorothy was right with the whole idea of you won't be able to, unless the taxi is going to meet all of the regulatory
Yes,
requirements,
yes.
then, but it's a question. I'm not even.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's the taxi cab route or whether it's the facilities route. It's expensive.
Right. And again, that may be the deterrent right there from it happening. People are often like, "Oh, gee, I'd love to do that." I think it would be such a great thing, and then they really haven't explored the nuts and bolts of what has to happen to make it work. And then it's a function of, wow, will that really work?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So I think the best thing to do is to continue this discussion for our next meeting. If something comes up that has to be acted on right away, I may call an emergency meeting for you all just to discuss that one issue. That would be its sole purpose as far as I'm concerned. So if that sounds like a plan, I would love someone to make a motion at this point to continue this discussion to our next meeting.
So moved.
And do I hear a second?
Yes, second.
All right, Joe, thank you. All right, let me at this point go through with who's remaining. All those in favor: Melissa,
Aye.
Meredith. Can't hear you, Meredith.
Aye.
Thank you. No, you didn't have to take the mask off. You just need to turn the speaker on. Joe.
Aye.
All right, and the chair votes aye. Melissa.
A quick question, Barry. I'm on the Mass Cannabis Control website and their municipal zoning tracker.
Yep.
And it says on Nantucket that delivery is permitted.
Oh, isn't that interesting? This is why we're gonna have a little further discussion with town council. Oh, isn't that fun?
Yeah. I'm gonna just stick the link I'm looking at in the chat so everyone can see that. But I mean, maybe that's a great question for council: is does the bylaw already approve delivery?
I'm yeah, boy, that's really curious. Hang on for a second.
It also says, for example, in Oak Bluffs, delivery is permitted. So P-Town, I was trying to look through the towns that say where it's permitted to get a sense of what other communities are offering that.
That is priceless. I love it. As a matter of fact, I just wanted to grab the hyperlink to it and get it up there so I can copy it and hang on to it for later.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh my God, isn't that a hoot? And I'm baffled. I'm baffled by that. But that's what we pay town council for, is to get us answers on those levels.
For sure.
To see how that all came about. And maybe that will render this discussion terribly moot in terms of delivery. But do think about the other things that you can do with that license. Okay.
And my only other comment was just that I feel like I know that you brought up social consumption. Mm-hmm. I really don't know what that. I understand what it means, but I don't understand how we would be permitting that, or what we would be allowing, or what restrictions, who would be putting restrictions on that. So to me, if social consumption is part of that increase in licensing, I'd really want to have some more information before I made any kind of recommendation on that. And I'll do certainly my diligence and research, but I think that we need to have a clearer sense of what we would be recommending as far as social consumption goes.
Yeah, I agree with that, and realize that this could also extend out to craft cooperative as well. That's another possibility that you could use that license for. I don't know about product manufacturing, micro business maybe. Just, I would encourage you between now and our next meeting, just kind of go back into the Cannabis Commission website, look at the various uses that are out there that can be permitted under the law that's out there, and understand what's involved in that process. I'm just going back to social consumption because I don't know why that one just comes right to the top of my head every time. I would probably say that would be an incredibly tough bar to have to pass out here, but you know, we're a tourist environment out here. God only knows, you know, and I know other states have done that, but I think they all run into a tad bit of a problem with it. Anyways, all right. So let's just move along real quickly. I don't. Is there anything else that's sitting before us at this point? All right. Not hearing anything. So like I said, if something comes up, I'll certainly let you know if we need to have another meeting on the fly here between now and our next meeting in February. See where we're at. And like I said, anything that I can get into my hands, I'll certainly pass along to you and see where we're at. If that all sounds good, I'd love a motion, and there's nothing else.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Bless you. And do I hear a second?
Yes.
All right, Joe
Second.
seconds that. Joe seconded. So Meredith, motion to adjourn. Are you in favor?
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and the chair votes in the affirmative as well too. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. I love you guys. You're hanging tight with this, you know, and I'm sorry that some of our other members aren't participating as well. I'll be getting on their case in the next few days. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Stay safe
Barry.
out there. Enjoy the snow that's coming down, and I'll be talking with you all soon. Stay healthy.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye bye.